guys, Ron here, and as we come out of the hype season for one Pokemon game and begin the hype season for another, I decided I want to talk about a specific topic that has always interested me, and that is fan predictions and speculations that ended up being completely wrong once these Pokemon games came out. Like how we thought there were a bunch of references to Diamond and Pearl remakes in Sun and Moon, or how some thought armored forms were coming to Sword and Shield. So let me take you down memory lane so you can cringe at the preposterous theories that you guys believed in. I wasn't immune either though. I was sure Regidrago was a dark type. Let me know what you once believed to be true, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Before getting into the predictions fans made for individual Pokemon games, let's talk about the predictions we repeat to ourselves every single generation, desperately praying, clinging to hope. Third versions! Ever since Generation 1, a solitary version containing the best of each generation's main series game is expected. But since Generation 5, Game Freak has subverted our expectations for better or worse. After Black and White, people swore that Pokemon Gray was right around the corner. I know I did, and I rarely swear. Fans were sure we would get to see the original Dragon, and technically, we got like 2/3 of it, but it's safe to say that Black 2 and White 2 exceeded expectations. In Generation 6, after playing X and Y, we were full of questions. Where does that train take us? What the hell is Zygarde? How does Professor Sycamore get his hair to look that good? We need to know! So we expected Pokemon Z to answer these questions. It did not. Mostly because it didn't exist. In Generation 7, considering how at the end of Sun and Moon Lily left to Kanto and How's motivations become concrete, we thought, hey, how about a sequel to see what happens? Pokemon Eclipse sounds pretty nifty. A lot of fans predicted that we would get Pokemon Stars, and that would be the first Pokemon game for the Switch. This was preposterous, because the sun is already a star. Why would the third game be called Stars? In Gen 8, we understood that Pokemon characters were the region's greatest strength, so Pokemon Sword and Shield 2 would expand on a lot of the setup at the end of Sword and Shield's plot. Turns out the DLC basically did that, with sweet Sonia continuing her research in the Crown Tundra, and characters returning in places like the Isle of Armor and Galarian Star Tournament. Game Freak has stated that they try to not be predictable, so I don't know why we'd continue guessing the most predictable things ever. But fans also like to predict that the most impossible things are going to happen. Second region. Even till this day, a minority of fans believe Game Freak will let us explore a second region in the post-game of an upcoming Pokemon title, just because they did it like once. People were sure that in Ultra Sun and Moon, we would actually be able to follow Lusamin's child to the Kanto region during the post-game. They were kinda right, we were able to go to Kanto in the following game. And when Sword and Shield were right around the corner, a lot of fans were sure that they would be able to finally get on the train back to Kalos, seeing as Galar is the closest region to Pokemon's French counterpart. And of course, evolutions. Every new generation, people believe there will be new Eevees. In Gen 6 we got one, but that meant people thought we would get another one in the same region, either Dragon or Steel. People were less hopeful in Generation 7 since they predicted the evolution pattern to be every other generation. But I guess we haven't learned that there is no pattern. Game Freak is just messing with us. And no matter how much sense it makes to have a Dragon or Steel type evolution in the British-based region, we didn't get them. But what about predictions fans made about individual Pokemon games once they were announced and during the following hype season? Let's go in order, starting with X and Y, considering, at least from my perspective, that's when Pokemon predictions and hype became mainstream among most active Pokemon fans online. This was definitely helped by the fact that PokeTubers started to become a big part of the online Pokemon community after X and Y's announcements, kind of helping the spread of misinformation and speculation. But it's all in good fun. Sound and Light type was the #1 rumor after X and Y were announced. To be fair, it was pretty cool that we all felt it in our bones that a new Pokemon type was imminent, but for some reason, fans assumed that Xerneas was Light type and Yveltal was Sound type. I guess it looks like a Neuron, I guess? But neurons can carry information for any sense. Yveltal could have been a Touch type, maybe even a Taste type. He is Bacon Bird after all. Once we got to see Mega Mewtwo Y, most fans assumed it was Mew 3, a completely separate Pokemon from Mew or Mewtwo. I honestly did too. Sycamore was speculated to be champion, considering his relatively unconventional role for the time, and the fact that he has an in-game team in the demo and the game itself. Predictions for ORAS were pretty tame, either things close to what we actually got, like a Primal Rayquaza, which is basically what Mega Rayquaza looks like, or something based on precedent, like the Battle Frontier returning. We all know how that turned out. Mega Flygon wasn't a bad guess, considering it was gonna be in the game, but Sugimori had some artist block. Zygarde forms were leaked and then announced, and people assumed Pokemon Z was right around the corner. After a year of waiting, Sun and Moon were announced, and even before the confirmation, most people correctly assumed the region was based on Hawaii, but the wording of the announcement trailer led people to believe that all of Pokemon would come together and contribute to a climactic series finale in Sun and Moon. The Pokemon Doomsday and eventual reboot theory was heavily supported by fans, and pretty much reinforced by Loxton's Ultimate Pokemon Theory series. The alchemical connections were there, but ultimately, Loxton is a liar. That's it, Loxton's a liar, I don't make up the rules. Tons of fans tried to predict what the new gimmick was going to be, based on the crystal crystal in the Japanese logo. Fans turned to the Pokemon Rebirth manga, where the diamond-shaped burst heart allowed humans to fuse with Pokemon, and since Ash Greninja was all the rage back then, they put 2 and 2 together and speculated that Pokemon Fusion was coming to the core series. And based on the title of this video, you know what happened. I didn't expect people would assume that we would get a Johto postgame, just because some thought that the clouds in the official map of Alola kinda looked like Lugia and Ho-Oh. Fans were also having fun speculating what Pokemon gyms would be like in the Alola region. The answer was non-existent. As we come closer to release, Ultra Beasts were revealed and tons of fans noticed how UB 1, 2, and 3 looked like the characters we just met, so players speculated that Lily, Lusamine, and Guzma were aliens from another dimension. We all expected non-Kanto Pokemon to get Alolan forms. That didn't happen. The biggest theory, though, was, due to a mistranslation and various alchemical theories, that Rockruff was going to be a 4th starter Pokemon. And once Rockruff's evolutions were revealed, many thought that the starters would get Night and Day evolutions as well. This was entirely wrong. Once the starters' evolutions were leaked, some thought they were fake. That was wrong too. But even then, we were all wrong when we assumed Decidueye was going to be grass flying, and saddened by the thought that Incineroar was potentially fire fighting. And since Marshadow's name leaked ahead of time, people assumed that it was the Light Trio Master, and represented eclipses. It did not. It represented cute little shadow boxers. During the Ultra Sun and Moon days, people obviously predicted that there would be way more than there actually would be, even though Ultra Sun and Moon did end up with a good amount of extra content. From the beginning, people assumed that all the empty buildings would be filled with gyms. One of them did. And once Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were announced, a lot of fans expected it to take place in modern Kanto many years after Red's journey. That was not the case. Coming off the back of a lot of Veda Pokemon leaks, people were speculating that Gorochu would finally be officially revealed alongside a new evolution, even though you can't evolve Eevee and Pikachu in that game. That brings us to Pokemon Sword and Shield. What predictions did Pokefans have in store for us? Armored forms and armored evolutions? Very ambitious indeed. This seemed plausible to fans since a supposed leak on 4chan predicted the names of the games and location they were based on a week before the games were announced, and included info on armored Charizard, Mewtwo, and more, which all tied to Meltan. But once the Affleck leak was discovered and was 100% correct, a lot of speculation was hampered. That didn't prevent people from predicting that there would be a Queen of Galar and that Marnie or Bede were royalty. Some people thought Leon was going to be a twist villain, and while most correctly predicted that Rose was the antagonist, a lot of people predicted that Oleana was the true villain of the game. A specific interview with Omori, the director, led people to believe that there were going to be minor league gyms that we could challenge in the game. At the time, I 100% believed it. But a few days later, it was clarified that while these minor league gym leaders exist, they aren't really in the game. For a long time, people expected Winden to be full of post-game facilities instead of just one. And once the games were completely out, we already speculated about a ton of hints Game Freak was dropping about Diamond and Pearl remakes, like the dens mimicking the underground, Eternatus' connection to Arceus, and Gigantamax, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. But even though the remakes were indeed confirmed, every single prediction was incorrect considering how faithful BDSP are. Once the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra were announced, and Clara was revealed, Galarian Dustox was the talk of the town, as well as many other new Galarian forms. Regidrago was thought to be a dark type by many fans before its name was revealed, and way before this, remember when we thought that the Gigantamax Toxtricity in the hills of Turffield was Eternatus? I kinda wish it was. Now, BDSP were just released, but since it takes more than 24 hours to make one of my videos, I don't know what was confirmed to exist within these games as I'm writing it. There's no Mega Evolution in these games like a great deal of fans hoped for and were sure to see, as well as a general lack of Platinum content, which for some reason people assumed would exist, even though the Pokemon Company was very clear about how faithful these remakes were. One thing I was personally expecting was that the Game Corner theme was not going to exist in these games, considering Game Corners aren't allowed in modern Pokemon games, but I'm super grateful they included the Game Corner music in the boutiques. So what are the Pokemon Legends Arceus predictions that I believe will most likely be debunked? Well, I technically know one that already has been. Many of us assumed that the games would be completely open world, but turns out it's less like Breath of the Wild and more like Monster Hunter, where there's a central hub and you go out on specific missions in specific open areas, and come back once finishing your mission. I'm also incredibly confident that we won't get Primal Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina in these games, considering Primal Dialga in Mystery Dungeon is actually just Dark Dialga in Japanese. I'm 80% sure that the starters in these games won't get Hisuian forms, like many are predicting. Hey, if I'm wrong, come back and tell me I was, but if I'm right, you have to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Check out all my other videos and go to the description for the music I used, t-shirts I made for you guys, my Patreon where you can get cool rewards, like seeing my videos days early, which you can also do by pressing the join button. Follow me on Twitter where I post previews of my art, and Instagram where I post completed pieces. I'll see you guys very soon.